Okay, where you at, Jared? Oh, look at this. Come on down. I just want to say real quickly, because I'm going to throw a little plug in for my daughter. My daughter goes to school at the University of Dayton, and she worked with Katie Crosby and the HRC team, which is where Jared is from, and the hashtag Live with Honor. That was my daughter. I just had to throw that in there. So anyway, she did that. All right, come on. So, but next up, Jared Grandy is the Community Police Relations Coordinator for the City of Dayton Human Relations Council. He considers himself a community advocate, passionate about the West Side and its well-being, and he is an awesome, awesome person. So I'm very excited to hear what you have to say. Jared Grandy.
Let me use that.
What is that?
Good. That was extremely nice. Appreciate that. My name is Jared Grandy, and as she said, professionally, I work for the City of Dayton's Human Relations Council. Now, my title is Community Police Relations Coordinator, but honestly, you guys, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. When I read my job description, my face looked just like that. I mean, it reflects my sentiments exactly. Now, my responsibilities include helping to foster positive and working relationships between the community and the police that serves them. I also oversee the community initiative to reduce gun violence, or service we like to call it. Service is a multi-jurisdictional approach that uses community members as an asset to reduce the problem of gun violence. Now, Dayton had a rough year in 2016. I know that says 17, but ignore that. In 2017, we had 40 people shot and killed. We had more murders per capita than the city of Chicago. I know that's kind of an apples to oranges comparison, but the point is we had at least 38 confirmed homicides, which is almost double that of 2015 and the previous years before that. Now, that people ask, and I often wonder myself, Jared, what the hell qualifies you for this job? I mean, I have a lot of faith and confidence in my abilities, but considering the turmoil that surrounding community police relations and the fact that Dayton just had its worst year in regard to gun violence in over a decade, people begin to ask questions, including myself. Now, I do have a bachelor's degree from the University of Cincinnati in criminal justice. I had the second best program at the time. I do have a law degree from Northern Kentucky University. While there, I got the chance to participate in a lot of prestigious internships. Also worked as a clinician for the Ohio Justice Policy Center for a year. Google them, they do good work. But I don't think any of that within itself qualifies me for this job. But I will tell you I am from Dayton, and I ran these West Side streets. Now, I wasn't any notorious gangster or anything like that, but I do remember the first time I held a gun tucked in my waistband, walking down Ravenwood just to go to the corner store as a 16-year-old boy. I remember how powerful I felt, how fearless I felt. And I also remember the first time I actually touched a real gun. I was 12, maybe 13 at the time. My friend Marcus brought it over, and we marveled at it together. I mean, I emptied the clip, reloaded the clip, emptied the clip, reloaded the clip, cocked it back, all for shits and giggles. Before Marcus left that day, he asked me to borrow my bike. I let him see it. How do you say no to an older guy with a gun? But needless to say, I never seen that bike again. And I later learned that Marcus robbed somebody at gunpoint with that gun. I told my friend Trey, and Trey told me how dumb I was for letting him see that. He told me about the story a couple days ago. He held that gun to one of our other friends' heads, pulled the trigger just to prove a point, but thank God it jammed. See, I grew up around thugs, drug dealers, robbers, and even alleged killers. But fortunately for me, I had a son at a relatively young age, and he ignited something within me. And that caused me to take classes at Sinclair Community College, where I fell in love with education. I fell in love with education because I thought through that process, maybe I can learn to save the hood. I can learn what's wrong with it and save it. So I could save that boy like me, who's always one mistake away from the prisoner grave, like Marcus, who saw the prison grave, like my best friend Trey, who is now serving his last year in a 10-year federal prison sentence. Now, when I took my job, I inherited the Live with Honor campaign. I thought Marlon made it up. Apparently, I was wrong. But I thought Marlon coined the term because he says when he heard a bunch of kids talking about they were going to die, and if they was going to die, they was going to die with honor, he thought he would flip that, and thus we have Live with Honor. But I wasn't sold on the slogan. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Eventually, I asked my boss, and my boss said, hey, Jared, we just kind of encourage people to define what honor means for themselves. So I did that. I asked people, hey, what does honor mean to you? And invariably, they would say respect, honesty, being a good citizen, making good decisions, et cetera, et cetera. Quick story. When I decided to host a Live of Honor campaign for, a vigil for a young man named James Banks who was 14, he got shot down a hilltop. I posted the flyer for that vigil, and I was trolled by a known troll on Facebook. And it got to me a little bit. So I, went on Facebook and got a response. My response: as a city employee, I'm not helping to organize a rally because I think that this is a legitimate governmental solution to the social ills that create cycles of poverty and violence. This is a mere attempt to speak up against a phenomenon that should not and cannot become normalized: the killing of children. The city or any form of government has its part to play in preventing, intervening, and reacting to societal problems, including violence. But way more powerful than the power of the government is the power of you. I'm here to encourage you to use it. To say stop the violence or live with honor is admittedly a little cliche, but it's meant to ignite whatever it is inside you that wants to do something that's wrong about what you see around you. But the troll did raise a quick question. She said, what kind of solution is that to gun violence? And my answer is, it's a great solution. Why spend money on advertising and campaigning? Because we know it works. Super Bowl commercials, big companies spend money on Super Bowl commercials, $666,666 per second to advertise. Companies like Mothers Against Drug Drivers and the Truth Campaign has also ran successful advertising campaigns. Now, our campaign only works if we encourage people to define what honor means to themselves. And as much as we love to have this conversation with everybody in the city, we can't. So we need you to help people think about what honor means to them so they can apply those principles in their personal lives, amongst their friends, and in their communities. When it's my turn to talk about Live with Honor, I can only tell my story. I can only say how when I decided to live with honor, I was able to get this job where I clearly don't know what the hell I'm doing. Thank you.